if somebody can put £5,000 into an account the day a child is born, like if you're lucky enough to have like a great Aunt Agatha or whatever, if that can return 10% per annum from the day the child is born to when they're 55 years old, which in the UK is the first time you can legally retire, with no further investment, just a one-off investment of £5,000, they'll have 945 grand on their 55th birthday. Because after year one, it's 5,500, and after year two, it's 6,050, and on and on and on.
So I just had a kid. What would I have to put that into?
Junior
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So the next question is, come on, mate, interest rates are nothing.
Yeah, how's it
2%. How on earth are you going to make 10%? And the very simple answer to that is, since January the 1st, 1872, not 1972, 1872, to the end of last year, the return of equities, of shares, of the US stock market was just over 9%. So, okay, I'm using 10% as an example, because mathematically it's easier. But broadly, if you'd invested in American shares consistently from the time your kid is born to the time your kid's 55, that's the sort of return they're going to achieve. Now, the next challenge that is, okay, well, the first challenge is nobody can make 9%. Well, that's just wrong, because you can by investing in shares. And the next challenge is, okay, but if inflation's 10%, you're actually losing real wealth. So it kind of doesn't matter.
It's a one-off shock though, rather than...
Exactly. So my broad point is that over a lifetime, and let's call a lifetime 0 to 55, just for the sake of argument, there'll be times where inflation's really high. There'll be times where inflation's lower. That you can't really legislate for that. But it just means that you really have to be doing something to be making a real return. So a return that's above inflation. And so if you've got a kid, yeah, you can use a junior ISA, where you can shelter about £9,000 from any capital gains tax. So all the profits your kid makes, you get to keep, and then just invest in the stock market or a stock market.
What about people who aren't as lucky as my kid, who aren't going to have 5,000 from the day they're born? Someone like me, 35 years old, say I haven't invested any, I have a little bit, but say I haven't invested anything. How am I going to make it to retirement without being homeless and broke and have no heating in the winter?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a really tough question. And one of the hardest things I have is I have, a lot of really kind people sending me lovely messages saying, I really enjoyed your book, but there's not much I can do when a 70-year-old sends me a message saying, oh my God, I wish I'd read this like 50 years ago. What am I going to do? And it's tough, that because we've equipped people really badly through the education system for so long. Like nobody talks about it. Most people with economics degrees, let alone maths teachers at a primary school, have a really fundamental, solid grasp of how to do this stuff, and that's part of our mission. But I mean, I guess the answer is if you have got to that, sadly, the harsh reality is you're going to have to figure out how to earn more, and you're going to have to really be on a crash course about financial affairs and figuring out. But, what we, and hopefully your audience, hopefully most of our audience, people who might watch this, will be young enough to kind of make a difference. Because I always say, basically, if you've got at least 20 years and you start getting the pieces in place and doing a good job, that is more than enough to do a really good job.
And that's good news. This was just the beginning. Click here to watch a full episode of Andrew Craig, author of How to Own the World.
I'm sorry, but this is just the beginning.
That's what it says on the screen.
My face was like...